Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm looking a little ragged. What we're going to do right now is we're still taking a few questions before we go live on TV. I know Bill is ready. I know I'm ready. I've got a bunch of great questions already, but I could probably use a couple more. And we got about 4 minutes before we go on the television on Austin Music TV. Don't forget that if you want to watch stuff on the big screen, you can go over to YouTube. You can do the chat anywhere. The chat comes to all of these different places. It's pretty cool with the Restream.io. I really dig it. That's about it. Okay, we got it nice, loud, and clear. Anybody got any more questions? Go ahead and do it. I'm going to go grab a water real quick, so it's going to be a blank screen again. But I'm looking for maybe a couple more questions, and then we'll have Bill play us in and stuff. Hey, Bill, one thing I forgot to tell you is while we are on Austin Music TV, we can't do any call to actions, just like when we're on Sun and stuff like that. But I can say, here's Bill's link for this, and all those kind of things. So keep that in mind, and I'll do it. We'll do it before and after. What kind of music does he listen to? Oh, that's a good one, Kate. I like that question. I like that. I like all these questions. We got some great ones. What music do you... That's a good question. And of course, I call it 20 Question Tuesdays, but who knows if we actually get to 20. We try. Or, Kate, is that a question for both of us? Ooh, and yeah, that's right. I kind of am asking that every single week, Lee, so I'll make sure we ask that too. What's your guilty pleasure music? That'll be my one question, because that's always a fun one. And everybody knows what mine is. I still got to get some water, though, guys. We're going to be on here in just a couple minutes. Kate does always have good questions. Welcome, Larry. Hey, everybody! Before we get on the TV, just remember Bill and I are splitting the tips today. We are unemployed / underemployed musicians, and we really appreciate that. If you don't have any money, that's not a problem. I'm super glad you're here. I know there's a lot of tough times going around, but we do appreciate it. So I'm gonna grab a water and see if we have any more thing. I think that's all I need. I'm just gonna go grab a water. I'll be right back, and we'll rock this. Welcome, everybody.
Hi,
Bill right there. We're getting on. Bill, if you want to just play a little bit until we get on. We're going to be on in about 30 seconds or so. If you want to play a little background music for us as we get moving, feel free. Welcome, everybody.
I can't hear you, man. So I'm just wave at me when you want me to stop. I can't hear you.
No, I don't hear you. Bill's standing on his head.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. How about now?
I can hear you, but wave at me when you want me to stop because I can't hear you when I'm playing. Can you hear that? Okay.
That's Bill Kirchen, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to 20 Question Tuesdays. Got our good friend, Mr. Bill Kirchen here. He's got a new album out called The Proper Years, and we're going to hang out and talk. Bill Kirchen, everybody. I'm so glad to have you all here. Bill, how are you, man?
Man, I am good, and I'm better now to be seeing your mug, which I haven't seen in person in so long. It's been a while, huh?
How's Louise doing, man? I should ask that
fine.
first.
She's
That's what I should
making
really
these
say first.
bitchin' quilts that are behind me, and art quilts, and she's been helping me out with the live stream, singing with me, and she's doing good.
You're opting for like putting something more interesting behind you. I'm opting for the put books behind to make it appear that I read books that don't have pictures in them.
Whoa!
You know?
Slow down, Turbo.
As long as I like how you could call me Turbo today when we were setting up too.
I heard a gal say that to me, slow down, Turbo, and I've loved it ever since.
I like that too. I like that too. Well, we're welcoming everybody on Austin Music TV, which is channel 16. On the ATT Uverse, it's 99, and we're so grateful. Thank you, Sheila, for having us on your channel every week. For those who don't know, this was something that I started when we were all kind of locked down, and I really just wanted something for free that people could get on and talk about guitars, and all different levels of people could ask questions. And it just turned into this beautiful thing. I had my first guest, Michael O'Connor, on a few weeks back because this app allows us. And then I had Jamie Harris, and then I had Scrappy Judd Newcomb. And now I'm going to have Sela next week, who's also got a new record out. And I'm super, super to have you specifically because, was it Friday? Did it come out Friday?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so the Proper Years came out on Friday. And before we get to everybody's questions, I just want to know a little bit about when it was recorded and what's going on with it and like how you're kind of dealing with putting it out digitally. Yeah. Anything you want to say about it?
Well, it was what it is. It's a compilation of the first of the 3 albums I made in England over the decade between 2006 and 2016. And they re-released them with some extra tracks in a new package with new compilations. And one of the reasons is for a long series of things that happened. One of them, not the record company's fault, kind of got buried and one of those things. And so it's been getting a lot of attention because a lot of people didn't hear about it. And the album that I recorded with all my people more famous than me, when the criteria was you had to be someone I'd actually played with and not dead yet.
Yeah.
So
you're not the first person to do it. Oh, go ahead.
Anyway, it's got Maria Muldaur, Dan Hicks, Elvis Costello, Nick Lowe, the old Commander. So anyway, that's the middle of it, but it's a compilation. So I'm lovely to have it out. And it marks 3 different periods of my musical life. Very nice.
Man, I can't wait to hear more of it. I've already heard a few tracks via SoundCloud because what happened was I was checking out this new Dan Penn thing, and long before the album came out, because I'm a big Dan Penn fan, of course.
Same label.
And same label, exactly. And when I was checking that out, boom, it just all of a sudden played, and I was like, oh, it's Bill. Like, I get to hear this early version of this track, and it was smoking. It was so great. And I'm not just, kissing the proverbial hiney because you're my guest here, but you know how I'm a fan. So we'll just keep it there before it starts getting too weird.
We start crying and stuff.
Exactly. But the
other thing that happened is the video just dropped today of Hammer of the Honky Tonk Guys. That just dropped about 2 hours ago.
Okay, so
and
I'm sure
it's premiered on a station, which if I was smart, I'd have it with me. But it just premiered.
That's okay because I'm pretty sure if I just go like this, then there's a good chance that they'll be able to, Exactly. And I think that's a good way to go. Hey, someone just signed in as me, which I always love. I'm gonna think that it was probably my manager who just said Jeff Plankenhorn says hola. But nobody gets weirded out about that. But well, let's just jump right into the questions because we've got some really, really great ones, and I have so much fun with this thing, and I love the things that people come up with.
I'm ready.
Let's see. I love Lee, who's here often, asks this question. We just jump right in. Were the old electronics really better? What a cool question, right? I mean, so like if you think about it. People like sometimes will be like, oh, I found this old thing of this box of tubes and I put these real tubes in. I found this old Jensen and this and this and that. I mean, if I'm going to answer the question, sometimes I'll jump in and pipe in my stuff first. I'll say, what I'll say yes and no, because it's like it's really really hit or miss. Like you can grab something like an old Vox tone bender and be like, this thing's made like a tank. But then you can go and pick something else up, and it's just like, no, they just really weren't making those yet. You're about to show us something. What are we showing?
Can you see this?
Should I go full screen? I'm going to go full screen just on you for a second so everybody can see it.
Ah. There you go. That's what I'm playing through today. Now, I'm not saying it's better, but it's cool. I mean, it's got a sound that I haven't found in another amp. Now, there are other problems. It's from 1952 or 53. It's a original TV front deluxe. And it's almost as old as I am, and missed by a few years. But, and it's great. It's got that old tube sound, and which they've been really trying to emulate in a lot of ways ever since. That being said, when you turn it on, it's disconcerting. It goes,
oh, yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, don't do that all show. Wait, settle down.
Please. You ever give it a good Fonzie? Like, I'll sometimes give stuff a Fonzie just once, depending on if the reverb's turned down. I'll just give it a good. And people are like, whoa! Like, if the audience is watching and just kind of. Same thing I'll do sometimes with a pedal board. Like, if I got an old pedal board and, like, I don't know what's going on and everybody's kind of looking at me like, oh, he's so unprofessional, then I'll just go, bam! And then all of a sudden it'll work for the rest of the show.
Now, there is something that's important to be said. That is, in many parts, they're making stuff better. They're making better and cheaper acoustic guitars. Or I should say, the high end, that's anybody's guess. But at the affordable prices for regular folks and you and I, you can get an acoustic guitar for a whole lot less because of mass production than you could before. And same with amps and stuff. So it's a mixed blessing. And I actually would always like to be using, especially when I was on the road. For instance, I got this one fixed up to use like here, but I wouldn't take it on the road. It's bouncing around the back of the truck.
Yep.
Anyway.
I find that it's really a mixed bag of what's good old electronics and what's good new stuff. And I find that like take an Echoplex, right? We used to always people wanted to play through an Echoplex.
Don't even think about
this tape thing, and I had to take that out with Willis Allen Ramsey, and he would make me clean the heads with alcohol and Q-tips before the show every night and after the show, and then we still didn't know if it was going to work. But at the same time, playing through it, somebody's saying, I don't know if Bill's upside down for everybody, but Bill is right side up for me. So I'm going to check over on the other channels right quick, just while we're looking. But on mine, Bill is right side up and answering questions beautifully, and he sounds fantastic. He's upside down on YouTube.
The analog solution is if I'm upside down for you, turn your computer over. That's really the way to go.
Yeah.
Don't go under the hood.
You are upside down on YouTube for some reason.
Am I?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Well, you're right side up here. Let me see if that's the same thing on Facebook. Maybe I get you to turn your camera around. If you flip your camera, then maybe we'll fix this. Hold on one second. I'm going to the live video over here. It's the I've always liked to say it's the touch of unprofessionalism that makes me and my shows so lovable. You're upside down. You're upside down. Let's try and flip it. It's unbelievably interesting watching you be upside down. Okay, that's good. And hopefully when we do that, now I'm going to go over to the other. He's flipping.
Yeah. I'm on the air.
He's like, it's his camera.
You just told me that you're upside down.
I know. That's what we're dealing with.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you so much. Let's see what happens. Oh, you're good now. I think everybody's going to say it's fantastic now.
Unfortunately, I've lost our page here when I turn it over.
You had it a second ago. It was there. Let's see now. I'm going to shut you down and trade you back in. Okay? If you want, just try and call back, too. You could. Are you with us, Bill? There we go. Okay, Bill's going to try and call back. So while he's doing that, I did have a question online that I'm happy to answer right now. Someone asked me, they said, Oh, there he is. He's back. Let's care. All right. Now you're back.
Am I right side up and all the right
I'm
side
gonna
up
check.
everywhere else?
I'm gonna check and make sure, but I'll bet it's good. It's probably what happened was when we moved that camera, it just got newfangled or dangle-angled or something. But that was a great first question to start with. Okay, we're about to see if you're back. And you're back. Yep, you're right side up. Everybody should be good.
All right.
Susan Darrow says, all is right with the world.
Hi, Susan.
There you go. There you go.
Hi,
Okay,
everybody I know out there.
let's talk about this next question, which is a really fun one from a young man that we may have known, that some of us know from a band called Beetroot Revival. His name is Ben Jones, and Ben Jones has a question. I'm going to start with one of the, he put a couple on here just in case, and I love this question. If you weren't a truck driver, why so many truck driver motifs?
Ben, first off, Ben is one of my favorite human beings, guitar players, singers, songwriters on the planet.
That's a great
I'll
question.
say that.
It's a great
Beetroot
question.
Revival is one of his, is what he came over with. They're still playing together. Ben, that's a very good question. And first off, I have no interest in being a truck driver. It looks like an actual job of work, which I've been avoiding for half a century. And but for some reason, when I discovered country music, which I came through old timey and folk, and barely got the Beatles and the Stones before I went totally retro. But at that point in time, truck driving music was a legitimate genre in country music, and it had its own kind of a sound. And I may be wrong about this, but in my mind, a lot of the stuff that happened in truck driving music happened on the fat strings of the guitar. That kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I love that sound.
Yeah, as Little Richard said, it made your big toe shoot up in your boot.
In my boot. Exactly. It certainly did. Now, so it was kind of a sound I liked, and in particularly there was a Red Simpson record I had that just, I've already covered about 3 or 4 songs from it. Nitro Express.
Do you know what record that was? Because I like to put in the comments.
I'll tell you what it was. It's out of print now. It got re-released as "Hello, I'm a Truck." He had that single out, and they left out
"Hello, I'm a
the
Truck."
Song. Well, that was a great song. It was a truck.
Yeah.
And it was read as a truck. Well, they parked that pretty little Mac next to me at the car. But anyway,
this is way before Convoy, by the way.
Oh yeah, way before Convoy.
Way before Convoy, which is solid,
Yeah, well, that's fine. But anyway,
Dear Lord, Mr. Ford was a good. What was that? A Jerry Reed song?
I think
Dear Lord,
so.
Mr.
Lord,
Ford
Mr.
was a good one.
No,
that's it.
Maybe.
But anyway.
Anyway, but just to finish up with Ben, so I guess I'm finished. Ben, thank you very much. Good question, and that's right. For some reason, and the other reason is that I am the king of Diesel Billy, which is a legitimate genre. And the reason I know that is because nobody wants the job but me, and I invented the genre. So I invented Diesel Billy, so I could have something that was mine all alone. And I claim to being king of Diesel Billy. King of Diesel Billy.
We've talked about this too. When people are making up a new genre or coming up with some, a lot of times there's good ideas. And I remember seeing something by a publicist friend, and it said, best new folk funk record. And I thought to myself, I like folk, and I really like funk, but I'm not sure that I would like folk funk. And I tweeted that, and then I just realized, I just spent thousands of dollars paying that publicist, and then I dissed him.
Right.
So that was a big.
See the problem with that genre attempted to describe something, and it used two different. And as soon as you use two different genres, you deload either one. That's why country rock. I never like to be called country
works.
Rock, love country. Country rock. Not so much.
Yeah, but
so
Diesel Billy has Billy, which we know what that is. It's rockabilly.
Yeah.
And Diesel is...
But it's all the same thing. There's not two different,
Or do you think it's more, it's hillbilly than rockabilly?
Either
If you
one,
think
I don't care.
disability.
Since it isn't supposed to describe anything, it just means anything I play. If I play a Bob Dylan song, trust me, that's disability.
Oh, I love it.
That's
Oh
the
man, I
deal.
love it. We're
So
here
Ben-
talking with Bill Kirchen. Yes, thank you so much, Ben Jones, for that incredible question. And make sure, of course, that our friends from Beetroot Revival. Here's a great question from a guitar player friend of mine who's a songwriter. And one thing great about this show is too, we have questions from people who don't play music at all. We have good questions from fans. We have questions that are like guitar related, technical related, whatever. Jana Pokop, who's a great friend of mine and a really great songwriter, does a lot of really, really great things, but she has really, really, really started like rocking with playing a little bit more lead guitar and jumped in. And she's at a point where I really love the way her question is worded. And I'll go first if you don't mind, because I think this question is awesome, and it is, how do you deal with breaking out of the pentatonic box? And what a great way to put it, too. I said, hey, it's even alliterative. And what she means is basically, a lot of us, when we first start learning guitar, we're sitting around these pentatonic scales. Or whatever. Oh, I'm completely out of tune, by the way, so that's a little more unprofessional. That sounded a little bit more like a Mixolydian.
That was a wrong atomic scale.
Oh, the last song I played last night on my thing was in D tuning. Classy move, Jana. Thanks she knew it. She messed me up.
Well, I'm glad you noticed that it wasn't tuned.
But if you're doing that, so the first thing that I learned that breaks out of the pentatonic box that I love is that every approach note is available to you. Every single approach note is... you think to yourself that people are really, really thinking this stuff, and most of the time, it's just what sounds good. And just where their fingers are laying, and just moving around things and trying them. So if you're playing a pentatonic scale... will make a lick that much more interesting just by using some fun approach notes. Also, when I started learning about Joe Pass and how to play like changes and moving them around, and you're doing a walking bass line, that stuff is so simple because every approach note works. And so I really, really love to break out of the pentatonic box first rather than tell people play a bunch of scales, which is cool. Just knowing that every approach note is available to you is a good way to break out of the pentatonic box. And I love that. Again, break out of the pentatonic box. Someone should make the video. You should make a video breaking out of the pentatonic box. But do you have any advice that would work for Jana on that?
Sure. Now, when I first learned guitar, I had been a classical musician and I'd studied...
I'm going to make you big screen here, too.
When I first learned guitar, I'd been a classical musician, and I kind of veered away from classical trombone, and I didn't learn to read music when I approached guitar, and I hadn't learned theory, so I didn't know from the pentatonic. But what the pentatonic scale is, it's really derived from the way strings vibrate, so it shows up in any form of music all around the world because it's built into the way bodies of air vibrate or strings vibrate, or bars of wood vibrate. So what you can do now, if you're stuck in that pentatonic, for one thing, rather than having the major pentatonic here and the same notes are in the relative minor pentatonic, play the minor when you're playing a blues, say. If you're using the minor pentatonic scale, just find the notes that aren't in that scale, like the major third, which it pushes you into a... So add the sixth, add the flat add before the flat seventh, add the major third. And experiment. For instance, Chuck Berry, Johnny Be Good. It veers between major and minor pentatonic and B flat. And there's the major third. Then he goes flat out major pentatonic scale. So yeah. Listen to those people, and I never did learn the modes. I was just the other day. My buddy was talking to me about the Phrygian mode, and I'm like, the Phrygian mode? Whoa! I don't even know if that's an F or a PH, man. But,
That's when I would say something like, "Your what hurts?" You know,
so, yeah,
some sort of
and
Groucho
again,
Marx joke fits in there.
the other thing you can do, which Jeff touched on, listen in your head for a melody, because the problem is our fingers will drive us around the fretboard in a fairly mundane fashion if we let them. So find, and here's a piece of advice that if anyone takes this, please write me a letter, because I don't think anyone's ever taken it yet, but I give this advice freely. Get yourself a kazoo. Because when you got a kazoo stuck in your mouth, all bets are out. You're not under any constraint to be like la 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 la. You're going and write yourself a sax solo with your kazoo, and then find it on the guitar. And it probably won't be your pentatonic box. You probably in your head are more evolved than that. So
this is so much like something that we talk about, and I think the kazoo idea is brilliant. My big brother, when I was a kid, when I started trying to learn how to play, jazz, he said, "Who's your favorite singer?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know, maybe Billie Holiday." He said, "Perfect. Take a song she's singing and learn her vocals on guitar. You'll have to take a breath. You won't just play notes all over the place.
Yeah.
You will know every note you play." And then he said, "If you can't sing it, you probably don't know what you're playing." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, if you're going da, 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 that's just a cooler melody than anything you would come up with if you didn't, kind of like,
right.
You don't have to sing. You just have to like really create pauses, and you end up coming up with things that don't have anything to do with scales. The scales is just vocabulary, and just there's nothing wrong with learning vocabulary, but doesn't mean you have more to say."
But the whole idea is with scales, it's to allow yourself to play anything you could hear. That'll keep you, if you do, that'll keep you from wanting to play notes that you don't know how to get to.
Exactly, right.
Or running all over the neck to find something when it's all under your fingers.
I got to say, this is pretty invaluable information right here, and being able to talk to you, Bill, about it is pretty dang fun. And thank you again for being here.
My pleasure.
Check this out right here as we go. Would you be interested in playing a song for us? You could just, don't worry about us not seeing. We just love to hear something. I don't care if it's one of the old ones or something from the new album or whatever. Thanks, Austin Music TV. Would you guys like to hear Bill just play and sing a song? One other thing that Ben Jones said that I really love is, you're known as the Titan of the Telecaster. He put it so eloquently in his English, Queen's English prose. You're known as the Titan of the Telecaster, but I believe that your songwriting, of course, is on par. And I love the way he said that. It was a really nice way to say it. So I would love for you to just pick tune, and I'll get off the screen and we'll listen.
I'll lower it so people can. Since it's a guitar show, I'll show my guitar too. Is that right? Maybe. Whatever. Does that work? Nah, I won't bother. There's a song, my love song to the Telecaster, The Hammer of the Honky Tonk Gods, and I name check in it all kinds of my favorite Telly players. Jeff, I didn't know you yet when I wrote this, or you'd be in there. Well, he put 6 strings on a maple stick, stuck it on a slab of ash, sold one to Luther, and threw in a pick, set him out with Johnny Cash. Could Leo Fender and the gang know at the factory in Fullerton that the honk and twang of the Telecaster tone would outlast them everyone? You crack a plush line case all up in your face, well, it's your gunner and your line and ride. Well, it was born at the junction of form and function. It's the hammer of the honky-tonk gods. Well, it's the hammer of the honky-tonk gods. Iceman 2, Brian, Bert, Buchanan, Danny, Red. Well, that's Red with 2 D's to you. Now there's a Waylon and Keith off the top of my head. Kirchen, Cropper, and the Boss. You know if Johnny'd be good, I had one, he would have been the St. Louis Telecaster. Crack a flush line case all up in your face. Well, it's your thunder in your line and ride. Well, it was born at the junction of form and function. It's the hammer of the honky-tonk gods. Well, it's the hammer of the honky-tonk gods.
Oh yeah, the virtual applause is going wild all over the screens. Okay,
I've never run my own camera before while I was playing it.
you know the
You had
best
to be in
part
the
of
key of E.
the best part about it, man, is we got to see your gams. And,
Oh, yeah.
that was the
Sorry
best.
about that.
No. That was a little extra. And you
I didn't even
should
think about that.
You should have charged us for that. Like we said before, this doesn't just happen.
Had I thought about that, I never would have done it, but it's too late now.
No, it's great. It was great. We got to see the guitar. Hey, man, you know what I love in those lyrics? Okay, so you take something like, okay, first of all, the name drop thing is so much fun in a song, and it's such a great thing when you can make it like a musical thing and like kind of just give a little bit of homage and then still have some vibe to it. But when you say born at the junction of form and function, that's something that as a guitar player, we understand about the Telecaster. The Telecaster that you're playing right there, whether it's, and I'll show you mine too because we're talking about it. The thing about form and function, like people don't necessarily realize it was the precursor to the Strat, and that Leo Fender supposedly used to put the necks across 2 chairs and stand on it, and then he would say if it didn't break, it was a good neck for a Telly, But as I grab mine right now, tell people just a little bit, okay, born at the junction of form and function, what does that mean to you as far as like the Telecaster is concerned while I grab mine?
Okay, well, it's in a way, it's the simplest of electric guitars.
Right.
And it's got a switch, a 3-position switch. Where is it? It's got 2 knobs, 2 pickups. It's got a stick. It's got a plank, and that's what I mentioned there. Plank. Hey, what a coincidence. And, it's like a bicycle. It's the shortest distance between 2 points to having a guitar and getting and rocking. And interestingly enough, it's a design that's just about as old as I am. Again, it was made in, come up with maybe 49. They came up with me in 48, And,
Yeah.
And it's elegant in its simplicity. And of course, as a songwriter, when you come up with the idea, it was born at the junction of form and function. That's when you get up and you run around your chair 3 times, like woo, 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 woo.
Like, I got this. Like, I got that
That's a
line, man.
I got a line.
It is such a great line, And when you talk about all these different players of different styles playing a Telecaster,
That's
that
right.
can be said of so many other things. But it is a guitar that deceivingly, because there's not a lot of bells and whistles, I kind of find that the Telecaster has like a giant variance of tone.
Yeah.
And that you can go from a really, really dark, beautiful, jazzy tone to a really, really twangy tone to like this soul. I mean, you can't listen to Curtis Mayfield without hearing it. Steve Cropper you mentioned in the song, of course. You listen to Soul Man, that's a Telly. And
Who's
people
that
ask
great?
these people.
Who's that great jazz player that used one all the time?
Ted Green.
Well, I wasn't even thinking of him. Newer than him. He lives up in Port Townsend. I think you know. He's really well known. He also is cross genre. He's got a steel player with him a lot. And
isn't that cool? I'm so glad that we can do that now as well. But I love it. The Hammer of the Honky Tonk Gods. It's just such a great thing. And that I'm gonna put right back up here like so and say right there. So if people don't know, I know you get this question asked a lot, and I'm going to ask it anyway. Most of the time, the Telly knobs are flipped. And the way you and I both have it, I first saw a guy named I know he wasn't the first. I know plenty of people before. I saw a guy named Jamie Hartford, John Hartford's son, and he was playing with this Telly. I saw him about I don't know, 20 years ago. And I took my Telly that was made from a bunch of parts in 1993 at Rest His Soul, Herb David Guitar Studio. I wore my Jerusalem Garden T-shirt for you too for Ann Arbor, just so you know. But he had these switches because it just always made more sense to me to have them right where you can get to them, you know. And when I saw that, I said, okay, we just flip it around. I know you might have been the first that I know of who ever did that. What was your thinking? Was it the same thing? Like
same thing.
Did you see
and
somebody?
I think that I saw it from another guy named Vic Smith in California, but I can't remember. But I did this in '69.
Right.
And it's kind of known as the Kirchen mod. Now,
yes.
And I think that probably a lot of people have done it through the years, but I don't think anyone got national recognition and was known for that. So it's sort of my mod, but I doubt I invented it. But the whole idea was to put, the reason being, I was doing a lot of country music and I love the steel, and I was thinking I will play a lot of steel parts, basically. But instead, we got the best musician in the band was a guy who's still playing today. He started in the 50s. He's on the first George. He started in the 40s, Bobby Black. He's 85 today, still active. He's one of my very favorite musicians on the planet, and he happens to play steel guitar. So I'm like, aha, I won't be needing my fake steel licks. So it became for me more something that I would do for things like truck horns. The Edmund Fitzgerald, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got it.
But anyway, so that's why I did it. And you have to, just so people know, you've got to not only flip the plate around, you have to turn these switches around, or the volume will end up right back in the middle where it was.
So
and you also have to turn the switch inside the plate so it's still intuitive. So this is the back pickup, and that's the front pickup.
That's exactly right.
And I'm glad you do it too. I'm glad I didn't have to take you aside and say
you didn't. And honestly, I don't know why anybody wouldn't. But some people say they like having the switch there because they use it more. Some people say they prefer to have it the other way.
Oh,
I just always looked at it. Go ahead.
Sorry, the other reason I did it is I can tend to be, play rock and roll a little slack joint and ham-fisted, and I would oftentimes knock the switch into a different position. Yeah, which doesn't help.
And this little guy would just fly off after a couple of gigs, and then it would just be this thing that would cut your hand,
That's
it would
right.
just pop right off, and it'd be like, no, I got to beat the soup out of it, unfortunately.
Even with it back here, I've spent 88% of my playing career with no thing because it always flies up. Now, whoever glued this one on used like some awesome space glue because it's still on there. Or else I've become more of a wuss in my old age. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I better not hit my guitar so hard.
There's a couple of questions having to do with this, and we've definitely got off on the guitar tip for a little bit, and we'll get back to the songwriting as we go. But a couple of questions that have gone with this. Lee says, what's the advantage of made from parts versus standard production? And then Richard Brown replies, Lee, I'm thinking money, huh? And I mean, there is something to that for sure, is having somebody build something for you. Sometimes you can get it, but sometimes you can also really, really get it made to your specs. Like the particular Telly that you're playing right now is famous not for being a Telecaster per se, but because of the wood that it's made from, and you could probably talk about that for a second.
Yeah, well, I was in New York City, and I had my we called it the coal burner, because I told everybody I'd had the guitar since '69. That's when I first switched around. And I told everybody it was so old that I had to have it converted. It was originally a coal-fired guitar, and I had it converted to electricity. And every now and then you get someone to go, no.
Oh, of course you do.
But anyway,
that would be me.
I was in New York.
I
had a problem with it. I was wandering around the village. I was playing with Nick Lowe, actually. We were down at the, whatever you call that place down by the bridge. But anyway, or the tunnel, I mean.
Knitting Factory?
So I wandered into this guitar store called Carmen Street Guitars in New York. And I really liked the guy. We realized we'd both been in a magazine a month apart, and so that's why we knew each other's names. And next thing, I'm playing this guitar he's got in there, and it's made from recycled pine. He goes around the village and takes rehab, and it's a great little old story. Matter of fact, the guy, Jim Jarmusch, just executive produced a little documentary on it.
The filmmaker, yeah.
Yeah, and this guitar is made from Jim Jarmusch's loft from the floorboards, and I have another one made from the Chelsea Hotel. I got two of them. So there's that, but it's old dry pine, so it's a pine neck with no truss rod, and so it's kind of beefy. It's a fat neck.
Yeah,
it's fat that way, and it's fat that way. But this
Yeah.
thing is ultralight. So in this case, I got something special to me, and for all I knew, I was going to get it done, and then really not like it, play something else, but it was a cool thing. But I just cleaved onto it, and I haven't found yet another guitar I like near as much.
Well, and I also find too, like people say, well, this is like a trigger for you, and like Willie Nelson's guitar trigger, where they tried to build another one, and they got all the same parts, and he didn't like it. And those of us who play Tellys, we tend to find one that really, really becomes our thing. Whereas, people can play a bunch of different Pauls or whatever. Like this one, like I said, was made for me in 1993. When you mentioned no truss rod, for those people falling in line, truss rod is a rod that goes through. It keeps the neck from bowing. But some of the older guitars didn't have them. And so you had to deal with things in different ways rather than just like cranking the truss rod to keep the neck from bowing one way or the other. It's just so cool that, because go ahead.
Martin's never had truss rods in the old days.
Right? They didn't. Neither did I had an old Gretsch New Yorker that didn't have a truss rod and all sorts of arch tops and things like that. So we've got, these have been some really, really good questions. But there was one more that kind of tied in with it. Steve Young said, should I buy a Telly or a Strat? And the thing is, I kind of smile at questions like that because there's so many people out there that are like, oh, I'm a Strat guy, or this, or people like me who really, really love to have lots of different instruments to have different sounds. And I'm sure you dig, do you ever play anything besides a Telecaster?
Well, I do sometimes. I record other things, but I'll tell you what, here, do what I did, do what most people do, and it's a good solution. Just look at all your favorite guitar sounds and see what they're coming out of. And of course, the bad news is you won't sound like that right away, but you'll get it closer, and it'll help. And you'll also find why you don't sound like that as you look for it. And some of it's equipment, but most of it's in the hands. But if you particularly like Stevie Ray and Hendrix and Clapton and those guys, most of that stuff, and a lot of the funk stuff, you can't even generalize, but just get your favorites. If David Gilmour, I don't know what David Gilmour played, but if he's a favorite, find out what he played.
He was a both for sure,
Okay.
And,
that's one way to approach it. There's no way I can say categorically one's better than the other. I happen to love the Telly for a whole myriad reasons, but that's just me. And my heroes, the reason I got one, I was listening to this music and I go, whoa, James Burton, oh, he's got a Telly. Roy Nichols with Merle Haggard, he's got a Telly. Don Rich with Buck Owens. Those were my big three back in the day. And of course, I thought that everything I heard that was played below the fifth fret was on a Telly. Not true. On the Red Simpson records, that guy's got a Mosrite, and Gene Moles has got a Mosrite. But so that's what now I'm stuck with it.
Yeah,
I love it.
And I think that's really a good answer to the question, is to find what you like. And also realize you're not going to necessarily sound like that for a while, and learning how to make those tones. And so much is hands. I don't know if you've had this experience, but I've seen people, who pick up any guitar and sound like them.
That's right.
Because they've eventually just, they've played it. They've created this thing, and it's a beautiful thing that way. Speaking of that, our good friend Michael O'Connor, who was my first guest on the show, and boy, we sure have had some fun. I miss over at El Mercado. I really miss those Mystery Mondays with Christine Albert, and it's a different time, but we had some times there for sure. Michael had a really, really great question that I wanted to ask you, which was, do you have any, and it's easy to joke about this stuff, but some people really do. Do you have any pre-recording rituals that help you relax? Or are you kind of a tense guy in the studio, or do you have things that kind of like, kind of get you in the right vibe?
Hear you.
Some people light incense, some people do this or that.
I hear you, yeah, no. And the answer is, No, and I really should. That's honestly, that's a great. I really ought to, because I'm not at my finest in the studio sometimes, and I do suffer from, you know, anxiousness and just a bunch of stuff that keeps me from being. I'm so much. I've spent literally 99 to 1 live from in the studio. Yeah. Literally. And so that's my comfort zone. And then I'm surfing there, and it's an out-of-body experience. And then I get in the studio, and it's like, me now? So no, that'd be a damn good idea. I mean, I believe in breathing and meditation. I probably drink too much coffee in the studio. So, because it's really a concentration thing. And that's where my ADD, which also allows me to, I'm just going to call it, what do they call it? OC, what, ADD, whatever. ADD.
One of those.
It allows me to play a walking bass line while singing, while playing cards, because I like to multitask. But in many situations, that's a deficit, a liability rather than an asset. And in the studio, it can be that way. If I start thinking about what's happening, or the most deadly possible thing is thinking about someone who you respect their opinion, what they'll think of what you're playing.
You're dead in the water. You're dead in the water the second you start thinking about that. Just walk away.
Give away the guitar.
Yeah, I will say there's a lot of people out there that are comfortable thinking, well, not necessarily like what will sell, but they want to think about like, well, how will someone hear this? And that's okay, like whether you're talking about lyric writing or something like that. Like, getting into the head of your listener is not such a bad thing. But the minute you sit there and think, no, go ahead. I know you got something to say about that.
That's all right. Oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted. I was just saying, I did want to tell a story about that.
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, I was in England, and I got invited to play on Nick Lowe's album, The Impossible Bird, which was his first indie label album, which really signaled a new career for him. He recorded one. The last record he did for a major label which I was also on, was called Party of One, and that was in L.A. at Ocean Way with Ry Cooder and Dave Edmunds producing, and
a lot of A-listers.
Ray Brown on bass and stuff. So at any rate, I'm over there in England, and he invites me to play on the record, and I go, oh great. I said, send me all the demos, and I'll and he goes, no, we're not going to do it that way. He says, if I do that, Bill, you're going to make a meal of it. And that's an English expression for I know what I would have done. I would have gone, now's my chance to play some cool licks that people will know me for. And it wouldn't have been appropriate. He says, I want us all to be in the room, a bunch of adults in the room, playing together and responding to each other. Best advice I've ever gotten. I still love my playing on that album. It was we were in the back room of a pub, and they'd taken a music room kind of a thing. They'd taken and broken the corner with those gobos, those big foam panels, so no reflections. And we were all sitting in a circle playing virtually live. And I had a little tiny Gibson amp that someone loaned me. I'm in England. I don't have my regular rig. I got my Telly. And I'm sitting down, and I ended up playing bare-fingered the whole time out of just trying to be careful. Yeah, because I play at home. That's another weird thing. I play for fun at home, sitting down with an acoustic, barehanded. And for a living, I play standing up with a Telecaster and a flat pick. It's like, can we get these together? Nick is the guy who got them together for me, and I've always thought, because one of the things Nick Lowe is, besides a great guy, great bass player and songwriter and singer, he's a pop theoretician in many ways. He's got his theories about this stuff, and that turned out to be invaluable for me. So there is a piece of advice that I didn't think up. God knows I didn't think it up. Get in the midst of it. Don't come in with some piece of thing that you need to say. Listen, you're playing the song anyway.
And this is on. I don't know if you think so. I think this is on any level a really, really good thing. When I was talking last week to Scrappy Judd Newcomb, he was talking about his first experience with Loose Diamonds, and Stephen Bruton was producing, and how Stephen came into the room when everybody was really tense, and he sat down and he said, now, fellas, I'm going to tell you a story. And then he started reading a story from a Penthouse forum. And he was just, aside from the little bit of whatever, he wanted them to start laughing, and he wanted them to relax and get out of their own heads.
That's beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
what great advice. Let's sit in a room and let's play music together and see what happens. You know, and it's tough sometimes in the studio because a lot of times time is money in the studio, and we don't have unlimited budgets to go for time, but to get into some sort of a thing, whatever it is that relaxes you. And it's funny how many of us musicians also, the dichotomy of we drink too much coffee, but we meditate. I mean, come on, it's pretty funny.
Well, come on, those Zen Buddhists drank strong tea to stay awake so they didn't pass out.
So that they could do it. It's exactly right. We've got some really, really great things coming across that I want to mention. Some really great comments from all the different places. Thank you, Austin Music TV, first of all, for putting this out there on Channel 16, and thank you, Sheila, and everybody there. Mary Jo O'Neill says, this is incredible dialogue. Questions we've been wanting to ask Bill. He's a wealth of musical knowledge, and we're all better for knowing him.
Oh, Mary
Randy,
Jo, she's a sweetheart.
Right? You know,
what a great music fan, too. What a stalwart music fan.
Richard Brown says, I'm digging where the conversation drifted. Most excellent. And Randy says, hi, Bill and Plank. I missed the beginning, but I'll go back and listen to it later. Please know that I keep these up so people can go back and watch them later on all of our different things. Before we run out of time, and we usually end up staying over to make sure when we get off of the
I'm here.
We usually
I'm
stay
here
over
for you.
about 5-10 minutes afterwards to make sure that everybody gets their question answered if we can. But I really, 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 because of the fact that you have a new album out, just whether you want to do something off of that, would you be interested in playing one more song for us, Bill?
Sure.
Anything. I'd love to hear you play one more song, and I'll just give you the full screen action again, and we're all going to listen to you do something.
I hope. Can you hear the guitar on this thing? I mean, not now. I'm tuning.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. We don't have much time, so I'll do a short version. I'll do the minute 58 version of another song. That last song is from the new album. And, oh, look. There's the vinyl that comes, too. That's the greatest hits film. This is Rocks in the Sand. Before a fish ever walked on land, time was turning rocks into sand, rocks into stone, stone into sand, sand that sifts through the hands of man. I built my castle by the shore, and we slept in the sound of the ocean's roar. And I came to understand that my house was built on shifting sand. So we went to the hills and built us a town with beautiful views for miles around. When the mountains shook and they tumbled down, all we knew we'd build on shaky ground. Before fish ever walked on land, time was turning rocks into sand, rocks into stone, stone into sand, sand that sifts through the hands of man. Now the sand will shift, and the earth's gonna roll, and the rocks and the rain will collect their toll. And all I'll take is what I brought, and I may not get just what I saw. Whether I sail or I fall, well, that's up to the shifting sands after all. Before fish ever walked on land, time was turning rocks into sand. Rocks into sand. Can't hear you, Neil. Can't hear you, Plank.
That's because I forgot to turn my mic on. I just didn't want to make any background noise when you were playing. That was absolutely beautiful, man.
I went past where the buses run on my lead. All of a sudden, I don't even know what key I'm in.
Hey, man, you know, I got to tell you, it's nice for those of us who look up to your playing and stuff to hear that there's that touch of human element every once in a while, okay?
It's called a clam.
That will help us. Yes, in my case, it's called a Plankenhorn because everybody wants to make my name for some reason. It just drips from the tongue like honey, so everybody wants to put that in there.
More questions.
Oh yeah, a couple more. We definitely have a couple more. Hey, Randy D says Waterloo just shipped my copy of your new CD today, so thank you, Randy, for getting that from Bill.
Thanks for
a
doing
really
it for Waterloo
nice
too.
Say. Yeah, right. And
indie stores are tough, you know.
Yep. We both have a lot of love for the Bop Shop too, out in Bop Shop in Rochester. Yeah.
Rochester, New York.
Good.
Yeah,
people.
Tom Cohn, great place.
I got a lot of this vinyl here. Big fan of that. Kate Howard has a really great question as well. I mean, we got so many great questions from musicians.
Kate.
I'm glad we've gotten some questions from all walks and that we've been able to talk about Telly stuff. We've been able to talk about songwriting stuff, you know, things about being on the road, a little story about Nick Lowe, you know, and working in the studio. It's just so great, man, that we get to do this. Thanks again for being here.
My pleasure, man.
Kate asks,
we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it again tomorrow, right?
Yes, please. I told you it would be the most unprofessional thing you did today.
No,
so, but you know, I dig it. I like it that it's laid back. Anyway, Kate says, "What music do you listen to when you're sad?" An interesting question. You know, I mean, I don't know if I know the answer to that. Like, what do I listen to when I'm sad? You know. The rain, not the song, but literally. Like, if you're sad, you know, do you tend to put on music when you're sad, or do you have like emotional stuff? Like, I have stuff that's like, man, I love to do the dishes to this, and I love this for like morning, like I gotta wake up, and I love this for, you know, when I'm cooking with my wife, you know, it's Slim Harpo. If I'm cooking, you know, I can really dig some of that, you know, and John Coltrane's good for meditations, but I never really thought about what music I listen to when I'm sad. Have you have an answer?
Well,
for that
I don't have a good answer for that. I don't really tend to have specific, and I gotta say, playing as much as I do, I haven't really been. I don't have a regimen of listening to music. I just put it on occasionally, you know, when I want to, or I'll go down the YouTube rabbit hole of listening to.
That's fun, isn't
stuff. And of course, I like extra sad songs when I'm not sad. You know, that's one of the great things about country music is. Anyway, so Kate, that's a very good question, and it's out of my pay grade, I'm afraid.
Well, but I say, you know, saying I like extra sad songs even when I'm not sad, I think that you could probably hip some people right now who are watching to who are some of your favorite sad songwriter. Like, I'll tell you one of mine. Early Dolly Parton is incredible. Her songwriting and some of the stuff is tough.
For instance, the one that hooked me, I was just telling someone else because he sent me a link to a Trio documentary. I fell in love with Dolly Parton probably in 1970 when I heard Blue Ridge Mountain Boy on the radio.
Oh, right.
That is a killer sad song.
Come
I
on.
get the goosebumps singing about it. And her just up there, you know, get out of town. It's so great. And other great sad songwriters. Merle Haggard wrote a great sad song when he wanted to. He wrote a lot of those things are definitely sad. Sing Me Back Home, how sad is that?
Yeah.
About to get executed. really, any song that starts out, "A warden led a prisoner down the hallway to his doom," you know, it's not going to end well.
It's not going to end well. That's the first act.
That's
you know?
And Kern River, man. I was just learning Kern River for last week's thing. What a song, man!
Yeah,
you know, it's about his, you know, and the vehicle in the song. I don't think it's true life, but his girlfriend died swimming Kern River. So anyway, but I love that. I love Ray Charles can break your heart with the song.
Yeah.
Any of the great classic country guys. That was you had to learn to do that. You know.
Do you
Together
like the
again,
stories?
Crying Time for Buck.
I tend to also be drawn personally to writers that write in a different way than I am, and maybe it's because I'm always like trying to get better. Like if you listen to a good town song, a lot of people go to towns, especially with the kill me kind of song. You know, Kathleen or Tecumseh Valley or something like that. But there's all this imagery, and there's also a beginning and a middle and an end. And that's something that people don't give a lot of credit to country music for. There's so much of a story there, you know?
Oh,
you got
yeah.
something you're thinking of?
Country's the gold standard for that stuff, I think, in a way. I mean, it's a storytelling medium, and, you know, I don't know. That's just my own personal.
Yeah, I'd say, Kate, we've given you a few things to listen to. If that's what rabbit hole you want to go down, from Dolly Parton to Merle all the way to Ray Charles, you've got your pick of sad songs and sad great songwriters as well. The last question, and we'll try and get this one in before we go off of the camera. And once again, I'm going to thank Austin Music TV for putting this on Channel 16 and 99 on the ATTU verse. But this is a great question that has been asked a lot on these. And once again, my guest next week will be Sela. She's got a new record coming up. No, that's out as well. And so she'll be here next week. We'll have a good conversation with her, absolutely. Some of you might know her from Purgatory Players. Last question for Bill before we go off the air, and we might run off, so you guys will just see it just zip. What's your guilty pleasure? Everybody here knows that my guilty pleasure that's absolutely embarrassing is that I have a soft spot for Barry Manilow songs.
Oh.
Because when I was a child, my mother would play it right next to everything else. And so 3-4 years old, it was right next to Songs in the Key of Life. It was right next to the White Album.
Sure.
And I didn't know the difference, you know, and I can still say, you know. So, what's your guilty pleasure?
Okay. I have no guilty pleasure because I'm not guilty about a single kind of music. I'll tell you some songs that would be my guilty pleasure were I guilty about it. For instance, when I was a kid, there was I first learned listening to pop music in the probably 63. There was a song by the Mermaids, which was a made-up studio group of 3 gals called, and it was one of those,
the Mermaids. Oh yeah, you gotta love that.
Boom, 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 and it goes. Popsicles, icicles, those are a few of the things we love. Popsicle, and I loved it. I still love it. And why?
It's not a guilty pleasure, really.
No, I'm not guilty. No, I have no guilty pleasures about music. I love Broadway, especially. I grew up with South Pacific in Oklahoma. You know, I can still.
Yeah.
Oklahoma every night, my honey lemonade.
My honey lemonade. Hey, will you do me a favor just as we're going off? Would you grab your telly and, like, for the next 30 seconds, just play us off of the air going on? Because everybody just loves your guitar playing so much and singing. You can do whatever you want.
You gotta wave when you want me to stop.
I will.
I can't hear you when I'm playing, so wave at me when you want to.
Thank you, Austin Music TV. Thank you, Bill Kirchen. Yeah.
We done?
Yeah.
6/9 chord means you're done.
Hey, everybody. So now that we're just online, thanks, everybody, for being here, and thanks for all these incredible questions. I think we pretty much got to everything, and I will say, now that we're off the air, we can do any kind of call for action. So the two that I want to do are, of course, thanks everybody for the tips, and I split them with Bill and whoever my guest is, and we really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks.
And also, I can say go to, because we are off the air, I can say go to BillKirchen.com. I can say you need to go look at that new video that's on YouTube for the Hammer of the Honky Tonk Gods.
You can. I'll post the link to it right now. It's in its premiere phase, so we can't actually share it yet. But the link is on my Facebook page.
Okay.
And it is not posted. I don't think we don't have it yet posted on our YouTube. So right now you can see it. You can go to and I'm embarrassed to say I just ran over and forgot to memorize the name of the channel that it's on.
Oh, that's okay.
It's on my Facebook page.
Susan Darrow also put it in because she's really great.
Oh,
she'll
good.
Jump in and she put it in the links here.
Good for her.
For
Thank
that
you,
as
Susan.
well, and that kind of stuff.
She's a
helps
pro.
us out.
Susan is a pro.
No kidding. And also since we're off the air right now, we can say Austin Music TV, thank you, but thanks for joining me on YouTube and Facebook. But we can also say, not only do we love local record stores like Waterloo Records and Bop Shop up in Rochester, which I got this really, really incredible Kinks album from, man. Oh, man.
That's Tom Cohn. I've known Tom for 30 years.
I know. Those Tom and Jan are the best there.
Right.
And they'll send you records anywhere, so that's super great, too. But I wanted to say that, KPFT and your public radio stations, not only are they so great for playing musicians like us, but they've been involved in the civil rights fight for about as long as you can remember, and Sparky will attest to that. Is it a generator that got bombed by? It's just the coolest story.
No, we played a benefit for them. They got firebombed by the Klan.
Right.
And we're back in the day with Commander Cody. We played at the Hofheinz Pavilion, a benefit.
And they keep it up there as like a badge of honor. You go up the stairs and you see Sparky. I love KPFT in Houston so much.
Yeah.
And I love local radio, and it really helps cats like us. Man, I cannot thank you enough, and I can't thank everybody enough for joining us. Next week I'll be back with Sela, and
I've got two other things I'd like to mention now that I can.
Do it right now.
Okay,
I would love that. That would mean a lot to me.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to get it in before we ran out of time. I'm doing a live streaming now, and I got some special ones in the middle. Now, today was a special thing to come here and get to talk to Plank. And another special one coming up is my hometown, and one time Plank's hometown, Ann Arbor, Michigan,
Ann Arbor, right.
has a long-running.
Garden, baby.
There you go. Has a long-running club called the Ark, and it is probably, if it's not the most longest continuous running folk club in America, it's the second longest. Cafe Lena might be in Saratoga, might be.
Yeah, maybe, right.
So I was due to play my CD release party Friday at their club.
Perfect.
That was to be the day that I was going to be in my hometown. We couldn't do that, of course, because of the virus. So instead, I'm doing a live stream this coming Thursday in 2 days from the Ark, and that'll be on not only Facebook, but will be on YouTube and some other platforms as well. So if you go to the Ark, A-R-K, as opposed like in Noah rather than in, Ark. So that's going to be Thursday. And other than that, not this coming Friday because I just did one, but every other Friday I have a live stream on my music page on Facebook, and it's been good for me, and it's been so rewarding to see the people from all over that I know from all over the country and all over the world say hi. So anyway, that's free.
Perfect.
You can tip if you want, but it's free like this.
Yeah, it's exactly how to do it. Claudia Parker just asked, how do we get to your live streams? And of course, I do mine on Facebook on Monday nights. And Tuesday, I do 20 Question Tuesdays, and that's it. This is so great. Bill, everybody, please go like, follow, get the new record. The Proper Years is out now, and right? And so you can get that. And, man, I can't thank you enough for doing this.
Oh,
and
Frank, this is just a delight for me.
Miss picking with you. Best to Louise, and we're going to go ahead and finish up here. Thank you, everybody. Okay. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, all.